So hello guys, what's up? This is Scher talking. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be talking about Byunei's banner that includes Byunei, Madeleine and Khalid. This is a very interesting banner since a lot of people were expecting Byunei, not just because of the looks, but also because she's a boss on the story. She has very unique skills. The global version just made some changes to how Madeleine and Khalid works as well. And we'll be talking about them here because it's very close to release. Let's start with the first character that didn't get any type of buff. Byunei was the only premium wind mage in the game for a lot of time. For those that do not know, wind magic deals slash damage. It still needs wind elemental staff, but the final damage is just slash. This is how this game works. You can use a mage to deal slash damage. That can be useful when your enemy has a lower will and a high endurance. Not only that, but she came alongside an SS tier staff that also come with a wind element made just for her. She has a very high intelligence by herself on 95%. That is a pretty cool value. The speed is not so high. There are strategies that don't really want her to have a very high agility anyway. So let's check the style that we are receiving now. She has a future style that is not exactly an upgrade, it's just different. The first is Windbreak. It's an AoE slash attack that debuffs the agility from the enemies. And if you have the Valentine version of Princess Whiterose, you already know how good it is to have an agility debuff. You can plan, you can survive more. Enemy mages will fail more often if you debuff their agilities. It's a pretty good and unique attack. The second one is called Super Fast Nabla, and it's like a very similar damage output to Liz. Its double S is 51 power. We have even more with Byunei. Byunei has 53 modifier. That's a pretty high damage output for only 8 cost. Especially if you can get her into a slash damage squad. I know the Rainbow Rangers will still work pretty fine for this. As more characters get released, we'll see double elementals that can be fit on a Rainbow Rangers formation, like a character that specializes on Pierce but also has an attack that deals slash. Pierce damage dealer can also do slash damage. You know, with this type of combinations we can bring a lot of damage potential with Rainbow Rangers in the future. The last attack also has a very huge potential. Earthriser attacks the whole enemy group, has a fast property, a power 28 modifier, and also gives her a guard up effect that lasts for 2 turns. What exactly is this? She will receive half damage while this effect is up. It's a pretty strong buff for someone that wants to deal with some waves of enemies in fights where, well, you know, we have 5 bosses. This is not common right now in the game, but we'll get to a point that this will be common. And then you can just start with Earthriser and then cycle between Windbreak, or just start with Windbreak, and when you don't need agility anymore, just use Earthriser at least once, so you get a defense buff and deal very high damage as well. All 3 skills are very powerful. There's nothing bad to say about Byunei. And now about her passives. She avoids enemy attacks when she's attacked with a probability of 25%. That's the same passive as we have with Acelus. The second one is Magical Feral Movement. That's a very strange name for a passive. That increases her intelligence with 25% chance. The effect is 20%. Well, this is still a little of a no design. We'll be getting characters that can have a 100% chance of buffing themselves, but this is not enough to reduce the utility of the character. The last one is Tension Up 4, so this one increases damage by 15%. And well, you have to consider that's only 15% increasing damage, but when the second passive triggers, the damage is better than just 30% increase by passives. But there's a lot of RNG involved, but she still stands out because of the SS staff, making her some of the best mages. I believe that she can compare to Liz for single target output, the same thing as Polka when Polka triggers 5 attacks with scattering explosions. And lastly, let's talk about her inheritance. Because the S style is free to everyone, well, Airbolt and Tornado are attacks that other characters can use. Tornado is not that bad by itself, it hits for a vertical line, but Storm Ball is where it is. It's a triple S damage with a 57 modifier. We already have 53. So just a little more damage, but 3 more points for Coast. It may still be useful depending on the situations, especially for Overdrive. So you may just stick with this, and when you have enough BP to use it on Overdrive, you have a little more damage. A very impressive S style as well. I can say that this is one of the best styles in this game. And lastly, let's just give a look on the other style of Byunei, and just for you to understand that one style do not replace the another. And the first skill is very different, it's pretty unique to be honest. It gives a defense up for a target, so 50% decrease in damage, but it uses 1 LP. 5 BP once fully awakened. I believe this can be useful if you have a squad that needs protection and you don't have a real tank. I don't know if this will work with Forneus, but Forneus is one very strong character that relies on receiving damage and countering, but he does not negate damage, so this could be a very interesting combination. You can also use the other version of Byunei with this inherited. The second skill is just a random attack that can hit twice and makes no sense. It's not best than the other attack that she has. It's just an option for those that didn't get the first Byunei. And she has one very powerful attack that is whirlwind killing. It hits for enemy vertical line. It's slash and moon damage. Very, very strong for an attack that hits on a vertical line. She can also start the fight with 12 BP. So, well, you can also use the AoE attack. She has Brave Assault, so more damage on full HP, and even more damage by fired up 4. So up to 35% increase in damage. She has better damage potential, but the skills themselves are a little of a mix. You have support, you have a random attack, you have double element. I don't think she replaces the first Byunei, but adds more to the first one. All in all, Byunei has a very strong kit. She has defensive and offensive abilities. She can negate damage, she can increase her survivability, she can deal AoE damage, she can deal single target, she can participate in strategies where she deals AoE damage on the second turn. As you can see, the fast strategy also works with Barthélemy. Not all enemies will work with both, because you have to find someone that's both weak to slash in either heat or moon, but there are enemies that will work. Remember, humans, they are weak to slash and also moon. So when you have a stage that have humans, you will find a very strong use of both Byunei and Barthélemy together. So this was Byunei. I will be summoning on this banner because of Byunei, but I don't think that the other characters are bad. It's just that Byunei is so good and brings something new to the table that allows her to be better. And now it's time to discuss Madeleine. Madeleine received a buff for global, but it was not so important. It can be seen as a side grade. As you can see, we have 5 different versions of Madeleine. She's a story character. This is the first one. It's the one that we will be getting. This one is a platinum one. We still don't have this. It's a stun specialist. And the last one is an AoE attacker that kinda relies on RNG to double attack. This one does not really replace the standard premium one. We'll talk about this. Well, the first thing is the premium one has a high attack, but not so high as the recent one, but the difference is pretty small. As you can see, the premium one has a pretty low endurance, and they try to fix this low endurance for the role that she can perform. I don't know. She has very high agility in all of her modes. This second one is a stun inflictor, so she needs even more agility. The intelligence of the one that we are getting is reduced. I understand why. She has average values for will, love, and charisma. She only has speed and STR, and not so high values for them. When looking into her attacks, you'll easily see what she was made for. The first attack, Lonely Moon, has a 4 BP cost once fully awakened. It's a double elemental attack for slash and lightning, hits all enemies, and has a power of E and a 7 modifier. It may not be so high when compared to some other characters, but it's just the same as Assassins. The second attack is Thunder, and this one is very similar, it's still double elemental, and the power is C now with 15 modifier. It's double the power of Lonely Moon. That does not really translate in double the damage, but as you can see, 8+4+4 is possible. She will be able to just use this for a lot of content that you can clear in 3 waves. Start with Thunder, Lonely Moon, win. And that is exactly her role. She stayed on the top of this game in Japan for a lot of time. There are better lightning damage dealers there, but she was always on the top of tier lists because of how her lightning damage is. Especially when you want it to farm and you cannot find good characters for this. We'll be getting a new version of Rock Bouquet that can do, you know, lightning and dark, and she is pretty strong by herself, but they do not exactly compete against each other. You can still use 2 to clear waves. I don't think you will be able to clear a wave with just Madeleine, so you need extra help, and well, a very good thing to have both. The last attack is this one here, A7 names word. It's a B power 22 coast AoE indirect attack with special effects against flying enemies. A lot of flying enemies are already weak to lightning, so you will be hitting for their weaknesses and for their types. There's still a huge problem with this attack. You can only reduce this to 13, so if you want to use Lonely Moon after A7 names word, you will only be able to do this on turn 4, and that is not something you want to do. I believe this attack is better for, you know, Robin Cup because you start with 15 BP. It is not a problem there, but for general AoE usage, only the first and second skill are meta. Now let's just give a look in her passives. The first one was changed for global, and this changes her, I believe it's for the best. She had this counter-attack avoidance. It was very similar to what we had with Laura. She had a chance to avoid direct attacks and counter them with a normal attack. The probability is 25%. This is very similar to also Byunei version. The endurance is pretty low. If you want to get her to the front line, she will receive very high damage, so it's a very huge bet to get a character with a low endurance. So huge risk, small payoff. It's not my type of thing. But when you look here that this was changed for global, you will want this. Remember Halloween Vampire Lady? Remember that passive that she ignores all types of damage on the first turn of every new wave? That is exactly what Madeleine got. So how does it work for her? Well, now you can bring her to the front lines and don't mind too much about her being attacked. Actually, you want her to be attacked. But there's something very strange as well. The first attack, Lonely Moon, got a new special effect. This one will have the stealth effect when she attacks. So the stealth is good because after she negates damage on first turn, she will then try to avoid being attacked. Then, well, I am not entirely sure. I don't know if she can change the turn order with stealth on the same turn that she applies the effect. If the enemy can see the stealth effect before he attacks you, that reduces the utility of the first passive. And one more thing, the effect is moderate. I believe it's 10% increase in her chance to be attacked. So, I am not entirely sure if this will be this way or not. I believe no. But if it does, it's a clash to her own potential passive. But at least by not being attacked, she will have Brave Assault 3 active most of the time. It's 15% increase on damage when she's on full HP. She will be on full HP if you are just clearing waves on a single turn. She will have this active all the time. And fired up 4 for 15% more increase in damage. A total of 30%, she will do more damage than Acelus does with her Mirage Step. And having 2 elements is better than just debuffing for farming. May not be better for boss fights. She was not made for boss fights. You only bring her for farming, for Swig, for Hidden Dojo, and for some Spiral Corridor stages. I believe that now Madeleine is one of the best characters for Swig. You can use her instead of Halloween Vampire Lady. Halloween Vampire Lady still has her hold, is different than her, but as a pseudo tank, Madeleine will do way more damage than Halloween Vampire Lady. She will keep doing AoE damage instead of single target for Halloween Vampire Lady, since she only starts with AoE and then keep using single target unless you are playing on manual. Madeleine will be the best pseudo tank for auto play in Zwig Coliseum, and I want her as well. She will be even better than Julian for that type of content. Boss fights is still Julian's problem, But if you want to use Tiger Shark formation with Madeleine on the front, you will see a lot of good results. So while Madeleine is one of the best characters in the game right now, I still will not give her a 10 out of 10. I am giving her a 9.5 out of 10 because the third skill is not easy to use. There is this complication with stealth as well. If you use the Tiger Shark formation, she may just make other characters being a target. It's not exactly something that will work all the time. She will still be one of the best farming characters. Lightning is extremely hard in this game. It's a good element to invest. That allows her to be a safe investment as well. Even if there are better damage dealers for lightning in the future, you can still use her together with 10. It's not like chasing a standard slash damage dealer that will always be replaced by power creep. She will stay relevant. She's close to the max grade, but I still believe for just a small value, she misses the mark. Before we move to Khalid, let's give a look on her other styles. This one here is the Platinum, that will be released very soon, I think. It has one attack that's both slash and lightning, but it's roll damage. It's way harder to use this on farming. Also has rear range in the middle, just to make it even harder to use. Rear range is still pretty old. This is the upgraded version, we still don't have this. But the last attack is pretty cool. Hitanken can be used in your other Madeleine for damage against bosses. It's 46 modifier, not so high, but at least it only uses 8 BP, has large chance to inflict stun. You still have some problems inflicting stun with the premium version. It's only 48% modifier against 71, but if you get her maxed, I believe it will be enough to inflict stun, especially because it's large. She is a good partner for stun using. The passives are a little more niche. She can inflict stun by passive. She has a reduction in damage when she's on full HP. And the last one is fired up 4. In damage, she cannot be compared to the premium one. But for stun, she's a very interesting character. And now for the last style, this one here is the one that I said that has RNG involved. She has Slash and Lightning in all of her attacks. Lightning Thunder is an attack that has a 25 modifier with 12 BP for whole enemy. It's something unique in Japan. That is a very high power for an attack that only costs 9 once fully awakened. The second attack is a little of interesting thing as well. 7 BP cost for an S power attack. Pretty high. Thunder's Word is not so good in my opinion, but the second and third attack are pretty awesome. And as you can see, all of her passives are kinda mated for RNG. When she's attacked, she counters with Demiloon. That is not a strong attack, it's only 14 modifier. And when she attacks, she has a chance to also attack again with the second attack. A very powerful attack. So you can just keep using the first skill, Thunder's Word, that is not so strong, but you always have a chance to trigger the second one. Okay, so now it's time for Khalid. Khalid changed the most of all these characters. There is a huge impact on how he performs and how you can expect him to keep being relevant in the game. And it's a very welcome addition, a very welcome redesign of the character. He has 5 different styles, with all of them being underwhelming. We had this version as a damage dealer with very high BP cost, so very bad cycling. We have this one that was a tank with very bad damage, defensive skills as well. So this version of Khalid was expected to be better, but at the same time he had a lot of flaws as well. Before, let's give a look on all the different modifiers. It has a little more STR than the first version that already had a very high STR. Lower endurance, but not so much difference. Close dexterity, a little more agility. Agility is always welcome. And pretty standard values for love and charm. Now to give a look on his attacks. The first and second attack did not change. Demiloon is weaker than it was supposed to be. It's a very powerful attack in Romancing Saga 3. Cheap, and here it costs too much. 5 BP with only D power is a little too much for the current standards. But it's still Slash and Lightning. All of his attacks is Slash and Lightning, just like Madeleine. They are counterparts. In the story mode, it says why they are so similar. As you can see, 4 BP is still too much. The second attack is called Sky. and we usually want 8 power on the second skill to cycle it better, or close to this. He can get the skill to 5 BP, and it's a B power with a high modifier. We have a chance to use this 3 times in a row. So what was the problem? And the last skill changed, and this is where we enter unknown territory. It was a double S damage single target attack. Before the global changes, he started with absorption attack that recovers HP when he attacks, and that was not so good. The last skill was word command. If you remember global exclusive Katarina, you will remember this passive. It's a 25% chance to increase the slash damage of the whole squad for 2 turns by 10%. And the first thing, let's discuss the change to Demi-Lune Raveling. They changed it for an AoE attack that has B power. So B power is pretty good for an attack that has 13 BP cost. You can reduce this to 10 and use it on turn 1. Pretty high damage as an opener. The problem is just that Khalid itself cannot follow up with other skills. If you are using Demi-Lune on turn 1, that means that you will not have BP to use any skill on turn 2. So he still has some problems with cycling. This do not solve the problems. And now we are on my Discord server. I was talking to Controller Passway discussing the changes to the character. As you can see, the first passive is now for the 4. The second one is a buff to thunder and slash damage. It's 5% to the whole squad 100% of the time. You do not need to trigger this, it will be always active. Joe, another character that's pretty important in the game, has the same for fire and ice. But the thing here is that you cannot stack both buffs. If you do thunder and slash damage attack, it will still choose either thunder or slash for damage. So all the time, the most that you can get is still 5%. The second buff is where everything about Khalid changes. The buff is a thunder buff. It will trigger 3 times. It will increase 10% of all lightning damage. Both passives, it is also for the whole group. So if you have a squad that can produce lightning damage, this will be very interesting. It's not like Katarina. It's not like Global Katarina that needs to trigger the passive. This will be active all the time as soon as your turn starts. And the damage will increase on the same turn. And the same for the second buff. How many lightning damage dealers can you fit in a squad? I don't know. Right now, we don't have many. Khalid will be very strong. Madeleine will be very strong. Khalid can amplify the damage of Madeleine. Khalid can also amplify the damage of the next rock bouquet when she do lightning damage. Silver can already produce lightning damage. There are future characters that will be very strong on lightning damage, but it takes time to build a full lightning damage squad. Now let's return to Khalid. Remember? 5% slash and lightning. 10% on lightning. This equals 15% increasing damage. He has fired up 4 as well. So that means 30% increasing damage 3 times in a row. But if you take fights where you will need more than 3 turns, on the 4th turn he loses 10% damage. He will amplify a lot of damage for those that use lightning attacks, but not so much just for those that do slash, unless they do slash and lightning. He is niche, but he will hardly ever do more damage than other common slash damage dealers. I believe that only if your enemy has a very high weaknesses to lightning. And his latest A style has access to Heaven on Earth. His attack here is still pretty strong, 29 modifier, 8 damage, 6 BP, can be even better than Sky most of the time. The problem is that it will only use the slash portion of his buffs. He will be losing 10% increasing damage. So as you can see, only if you need stun. If you do not need stun, the other buff will be better. Or maybe Heaven on Earth on turn 4 and beyond. So my final grade for Khalid, I have to give him 2 grades. This is the first time I'm doing this. If you can take advantage of his buff, he's a 9.0 out of 10. He can increase the damage of your squad and make it better. But he himself is not so good of a damage dealer. If you cannot take advantage of his buffs, I believe that he deserves an 8 out of 10. The skill number 3 is pretty strong by itself, but there's a problem. It's bad for cycling. He does not have anything that's so strong. Face a lot of competition for slash, not so much for lightning. And unless you are very in need of a lightning damage dealer, you can skip him entirely. Madeleine is better for the future, at least for general usage. And Khalid will just need more and more lightning characters to work with him. So this is my opinion, guys. Let me go back here to the image of the banner. I will raise the question, is it worth so many here? Guys, yes and no. Like always, this is just a standard reply. I believe that Byunei, Madeleine, and Khalid are all good on their sales. Byunei is the start of a banner, and you cannot ignore this fact. Madeleine can be better now than she was before. She will stay with most of your farming squads that need lightning damage. Khalid will be an amplifier for those that have Madeleine and for future styles, but now he is not so good. You can just try to summon for him in the future. So this is my opinion. What's yours? Say here in the comment section. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. We see each other on the next one. Bye.